Hi, Mark. Thanks for being with us. I mean, is it possible at all for Trump to get his way on this? If he doesn't think this election is going to go in his favor, could he, under his presidential powers, in some way get this election delayed?
No. But look, it's a real issue. There's no question. And I previously, in one of my interviews on TRT, predicted this confusion. But in any event, you really have to look at the Constitution and what it says. So here's the scenario that could play out, and it will be very, very strange. The Congress would come back on January 3rd and then try to count the electoral votes on January 6th. If on January 20th at noon, the election has not been certified, and that is possible. Back in the 2016 election, when they're counting the votes, there was some controversy, but it didn't go anywhere. But they raised hacking. But this time, the issue is mailing problems, mailing ballots, absentee ballots, confusion with those ballots, legitimate issue. What could happen is if the president and vice president, for some reason, are not certified and cannot take office on January 20th, then under the Presidential Succession Act, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi will become president. I know that sounds very wild, but that's the scenario. Now, where is the solution going to come? Not same with COVID, not from the federal government, but from the state governments. And the states are looking at this issue. Among other things, taking Pennsylvania, for example, they've been trying to wrestle with the issue about counting mail-in ballots on Election Day. The problem is that the mail-in ballots normally are counted at the end of the Election Day. They want to move back earlier. What they've got to do is work on the security of the mail-in ballots. Secondly, figure out a way to count them expeditiously, and to try to tighten up the system as it is. There are a number of states, actually, I think 6 states, allow for either all mail-in ballots or significant mail-in ballots. This is reality, and this is not just because of COVID-19. I mean, but we're going to have to come to grips with it, and the governors are going to have to work on it. So at the end of the day, it's not going to be Trump's call. It's not Trump's call, but what he raises here, and again, what President Trump is great at, he is able to upend the whole political system and throw it up into confusion and give us all a big headache. But at the same time, we've got to do a reality check here and figure out how to deal with this, because it is possible that many people will not want to go out and vote. And the other problem is also, in one state, interestingly enough, election workers didn't show up in the primary in the previous, just recently. And so they had a lot of confusion. I wanted to say, as a historical matter, since I looked this up, there's only been one federal election that has ever been postponed. And believe it or not, it was a typhoon in the Northern Marianas that is a Commonwealth of the United States, and a federal election was, by executive order in that Commonwealth, was postponed. There's never been a federal election postponed in the history of this country, although elections have been postponed due to hurricanes, typhoons, and probably COVID's up there with these kind of threats. So it's possible.
Right. And Mark, I mean, people are discussing just every angle here. For example, one mention I heard was that, we have a liberal Supreme Court judge hospitalized right now. Might there be a strategy here to get the chance to appoint another Supreme Court judge should Ruth Bader Ginsburg become unable to work? And if the election is postponed, that could give the Republican Party more time to get a Republican Supreme Court judge on the bench.
Well, let's look at it this way. First of all, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is the notorious RBG, and she's come back each time from being ill, so wish her all the best. But I think that if you go back to the Obama period, if you remember, Justice Scalia died during the Obama administration, at the end of the Obama administration, and his name, then President Obama nominated Merrick Garland and submitted his name to the Republican Senate. The Constitution requires the Senate to approve. And the Republican Senate said, we're not going to interview any candidates because it's an election year, and it's up to the new president to pick the Supreme Court nominee, which is exactly what happened, because Merrick Garland didn't make it, and then the new Senate then picked Gorsuch. So if that happened, and I hope it doesn't, I hope Ginsburg is fine, but if it happened and there's a vacancy, there also was a rumor at the end of the Supreme Court term that Justice Alito was going to retire. But if it happened, well, then the Democrats could say to the Republicans, hey, wait a minute, that's not fair. Wait a minute, you can't put forth a name. We should wait for the new president, just as you did. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm sure there's a Turkish proverb to that effect or something like that. So, hey, it's not fair. But truth of the matter is, this is American politics. So you have a very interesting point that you could end up with President Trump and having the opportunity to nominate another justice. And I want to say one other important point. There used to be a rule called filibuster. There still is a filibuster rule and cloture in the Senate, which says, I want to make this point, that if at this point all the Republicans would need to pass a Supreme Court judge would be a majority. They no longer need 60 votes. So they could do it.
Mark Meirowitz, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.